The Kadam family leaves India after their restaurant is torched in a political dispute, killing Mummy Kadam. The family moves first to England but leave because the food is bland, finally ending up in a southern French village. Papa Kadam buys an old restaurant just 100 feet across the road from a Michelin-starred restaurant. The French restaurant is owned by a pretentious widow, Madame Mallory, who sets about maligning the Indian restaurant and the Kadam family. She complains to the town mayor of the noise and the smells emanating from the Masan Mabai, which she calls the death of good taste. Her head chef too complains that the smell of the curry is everywhere. Honestly, no sense of culture or tradition. The noise and the offensive smell is simultaneously blamed for and signifies a barrier between the cultures. It is symbolic of the contemporary racial and multicultural issues in France, which is also signified in this film with the xenophobic graffiti spray painted on the wall of the Indian restaurant. Thus, the 100-foot journey is a story of cultural clash. French versus Indian, West versus East, individualist versus collective. The first clue of the conflict to overcome is in the title. There are only 100 feet between the two restaurants or cultures, but it is called a journey. The cultural struggle that ensues signifies similar global struggles of displaced, decolonized, or impoverished people against what Gramsci calls hegemony, or the ruling elite. In the film, this ruling elite is signified by the French, but really encompasses all of Europe and Western culture in particular. For example, the Michelin rating system is practiced not only in France but throughout Europe. The social struggle between Madame Mallory and Papa Kadam ultimately becomes what Gramsci terms a war of positions. As Papa says, "I will turn the music down, but I will turn the heat up," and later declares, "War it is." This culture clash is far from outmoded and resonates very much with what is occurring throughout Europe at present. As Guillaume Bender contends, the immigrant population in France is never celebrated, rarely recognized, despite its pervasive presence in modern-day France. Durham adds that France's particular conception of citizenship, which symbolically eliminates ethnic and cultural differences in the name of a common French identity, is far from antiquated. The differences in the cultures in the film are signified and delineated in the food, with a colourful, spicy and generously portioned Indian food portraying an inclusive, sharing culture, while the French food is far more buttoned up, minimal and pretentious, or individualist. The French kitchen exudes a sense of hierarchy and steadiness, the Indian kitchen reflecting their collective approach and creativity. The film also shows the brutal excesses of French rule through food. For example, the French chef is seen wastefully throwing away the head of the fish he is filleting, while the Indian chef Hassan makes a show of his head to tell cooking philosophy. Yet it is also clear that the children in the family, including Hassan, his brother Mansour and sister Mahira, are all eager to assimilate into French culture. Hassan asks rival French chef Marguerite for a French cookbook, and soon after she gives him some, makes her the 5 foundational French sauces. On the very first night the restaurant opens, he tells Mansour to use the French technique of adding red wine to tenderize the mutton, with the warning, "To survive, we are going to have to adapt." He refuses to get rid of his French cookbooks after the fire, contending that the books are about good food, they're just different. He tells Mahira that this time they will not run, adding, "You know what they say, if you can't beat them, join them." Mansour too makes a stand against Papa's propensity to perpetuate their cultural mores, begging him not to barter for a better rate at the motel. That he wishes to blend in culturally is clear when he tells Papa, "We will pay the rate like normal people." As Mackenzie states, food in film since the 1970s has become about ethnicity and identity. It's about who we are, and it's become a way of bonding people together. There are many ways in which this is depicted through food in the film. For example, after making a spiced omelette, Hassan is employed at Madame Mallory's French restaurant, where he gradually works his Indian cooking techniques and ingredients into the French food. The restaurant is awarded 2 Michelin stars as a result, and Hassan continues successfully with his fusion philosophy at a Paris restaurant. The molecular gastronomy practiced at this restaurant introduces a third cultural dilemma. Here there are no barriers, and the coming together of all manner of foods and techniques is celebrated in a quest for innovation. This is poignantly symbolic of our global society and the effects thereof. It represents a coming together, or hybridization, of cultures. There is also a reference to political history in the 100-Foot Journey. When Hassan adds spice to a classic French sauce recipe, Madame Mallory asks, "Why change a recipe that is over 200 years old?" Hassan answers, "Because, madam, maybe 200 years is long enough." This is applied not just to the recipe, but to the period of France's colonization of India, called French India, from the late 1600s. Ultimately, the film ends with the promise of a French Indian restaurant presided over by both Hassan and Marguerite. Here the woes of history are all melded into what becomes a celebration of post-colonial, gender-neutral multiculturalism.